In today's video, we're talking about Square and whether it's overvalued, undervalued. I mean, 2020 has been a great year for the stock as it's had a huge run up. Obviously, as an investor in Square and it being one of my larger positions in the portfolio, I care about the valuation, and in this video we kind of take a step back, look at the valuation via a discounted cash flow model, via multiples related to sales and the explosive revenue growth that they've seen. It's important to reevaluate some of these positions as time goes on. And do I want to hold on to the stock? Do I want to sell everything? Will it continue to moon? In this video, we dive into it a little further. Okay, I know the suspense is high and you're wondering, is it a good buy? Just tell me. For me, I'm putting a neutral stance on Square and its valuation, and I'm gonna talk about why that is throughout the rest of the video. But if you don't want to hear me blah 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 about Square and its valuation, you can just skip the video and just know, bam, I'm neutral. So that's my position on the stock. And then I'll talk about the end of the video, kind of what I'm doing in my own portfolio with the stock itself. The stock itself has had a monstrous run in 2020. I mean, it started the year off at around 38, or we're just looking at a yearly chart here. And in March, it was down to 38, and we're sitting right now at 224. So obviously 38 to 224, a massive run for the stock. If you're not familiar with Square, it first started off as just a point of sale software where you'd plug a little device into your phone and you could swipe credit cards and accept payments. They've evolved to be a multiple of different products and different platforms. So they have Square Online, they have different hardware that you can implement at a business, and then also they have things like the Cash App, which is a huge source of growth for the company. At the same time, Square also has investments in different companies like Tidal. They also own Weebly.com, which is a website company that offers hosting and a way to design websites, obviously integrating Square into the platform as well. As you dive further into the financials though, you realize that the Cash App is a pretty large part of their overall business. So the Cash App is similar to Venmo, Zelle. Essentially it's a way to transfer money across people, and you can even use it for your business itself, but it's another way to accept payments. And then they've also introduced a way to easily buy Bitcoin, right? So Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Square, is a big believer in Bitcoin, so he's constantly integrating ways to use it in his different platforms, whether that's Twitter or Square. And I mentioned Bitcoin specifically because if you look at their revenue, a huge driver of that growth is Bitcoin revenue. You can see at the end of 2019, it went from 516 million to $4.6 billion for the full year 2020. And the reason I point this out is because if you look at the Bitcoin revenue, it's not as valuable as an investor as the revenue from another source of the company, because the gross margins when it comes to the Bitcoin revenue are much smaller. So, it's good seeing that growth, but for me, the value from that revenue growth from Bitcoin isn't as valuable as it coming from somewhere else. You can see here that without the Bitcoin revenue, basically the other revenues within the company grew 17% year over year, which is still solid, but it's no 101% when you look at the full company and all the revenues. Back to what I was saying though about the Cash App, if you look at the gross profit for the company, they've literally split it out between the Cash App and then the seller ecosystem. And you can see that the year over year gross profit growth for the Cash App for Q4 was 162%. So you're seeing a huge surge in the profitability of the Cash App, whereas the seller ecosystem, still grew, but it was only 13%. So that's why, when we're talking Square, the growth engine for this company right now is the Cash App. So if they can keep on, marketing the Cash App and growing it and its usage and its transactions, that will obviously be good for the company. And here's some other statistics or graphs and information that kind of blew my mind. If you look at the Cash App monthly active customers, in December 2016, we're talking 3 million people. At this point, at the end of 2020, 36 million people are actively using the Cash App on a monthly basis. Now, what's even crazier for me is the fact that the acquisition cost to have someone sign up and use the Cash App is less than $5. Let that sink in, less than $5. If you take a look at the acquisition costs across the industry for financial and banking and insurance products, we're talking $175 and $303. So something that's $5 or less to acquire a customer, that's 97 to 98% cheaper than the industry. Also, they're getting gross profits per user of around $41. So it seems like a pretty solid trade-off to acquire customers through the Cash App. So how is Square compared to things like Shopify and PayPal? If you look at the market cap, Square is the smallest of the three. If you look at the revenue, it's kind of in the middle. Price to sales ratio is something that's good to look at Square still because it's a growing company and they're not that profitable. They have a small profit, but it's a growing company. So using a multiple like price to sales ratio makes a little bit more sense when you're comparing it to other similar companies. Now, looking at the revenue growth projections, they have the highest revenue growth projection and earnings per share growth for the next few to 5 years, right? Which is a big deal and it's, good to see. Now, as we were talking about though, gross margin, they actually are on the lower side across their competitors. So yes, they have higher revenue, but it goes back to they're not making as much money or profit from that revenue. One way to come up with a valuation for Square is to use something like a price to sales ratio multiplier. So use a historical multiple like 7.5, which is the middle of the range, and then look at next year's revenue and kind of use an average of analyst estimates, which is around 13.76 billion, and you can come up with a 1-year target of $232 per share. And obviously this isn't perfect and it's a back of the envelope way, so I also want to run everything through a discounted cash flow model to see how that valuation compares to this simplified price to sales ratio multiple. So these are the assumptions that I used for my discounted cash flow model. And essentially when I ran the numbers through, the intrinsic value based on the discounted cash flows is around $133 per share. Obviously, with it trading around $224, there's some downside if you use this valuation method. Here's the thing about a discounted cash flow model. All my finance people know that it's all about the assumptions. So if the assumptions are changed, you're gonna get swings in that valuation, up or down. So what I like to do is use something simple like a price to sales ratio and compare it to the intrinsic value that I'm calculating and kind of come up with an average target that I feel like is reasonable, especially with a company like Square that's growing a lot and it's not as easy to predict the future 5 years out, which with a discount cash flow model, that's exactly what you're doing. You're taking a lot of assumptions. With all of that being said, I have a target price of around 183. Now, am I gonna sell everything? No. Has Square had a huge run up in 2020? Yes. So what I'm looking to do actually is trim a little bit of the position, but not sell everything, because I don't want to fall into the situation where I'm selling the companies that continue to innovate and continue to grow and continue to surprise people, and then add to laggards that may not be as good of a growth, innovation, disruptor play. There's actually a behavioral finance term for that known as the disposition effect. So for me, I want to trim my winners, but realistically, I want to own good businesses that are continuing to innovate and continuing to grow, and Square pretty much aligns to that methodology. So I don't want to become too active and chop myself up. I'll let the winners run and try to sell the losers and the companies that can't execute on kind of what they're going for. As I said at the beginning of the video, it's more of a hold position. I wouldn't be loading the boat right now on Square, but if it comes back down to realistic levels, hey, maybe I go back into the position and add a little bit more. But for now, definitely a hold, neutral on Square and its overall valuation. If you did enjoy this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to Main Street Wolf. Thanks guys, and have a great day.